Ian Smith for PETRIe Spotlight TV, and today we are speaking to Alex Aiono, and Alex is dropping music with us, dropping his album, The Gospel at 23, which we're so excited about. Alex, thank you so much for trusting us and giving us the opportunity to talk to you about the album and to also hear the music first. So welcome.
Thank you very much.
How are you, first of all?
Man, I am doing. It's a quote that I'm gonna quote from my first ever podcast episode. Karen Ehrlichman, who's the therapist that was a guest on that episode, she says, "I'm quarantine good."
Quarantine good, yes.
COVID good. That's
COVID good. COVID good. It's so funny now when people ask me, Zadrian, how are you? I always say, well, in this hour, I'm okay. But I can't. Anything that precedes or comes after that, I can't. I don't know. I mean,
I was for a minute. I was using. How much time do you have?
Right. That's a good one. How much time do you have? So
but I'm good, man. I'm good.
Good. I'm glad that you look good. I told you I love this hair moment that we have happening right now.
It's definitely a moment. It's definitely a moment. I don't know if that's the best way to define it.
The hair is here. I love it. So now we're going to be talking about, The Gospel at 23, which is dropping tomorrow. But before we dive into that, I always like to just introduce my audience to the person that we're speaking to. And kind of using your album as inspiration. I like to kind of get on the time machine, go back in past, and I like for you to tell us, who was Alex at 16 years old? Paint a picture for us.
When I was 16, I think the best word to probably describe it was like hungry. Like I was just like young and wanting it all. Like I wanted money and I wanted to like be the man, and I wanted like to be a pop star, like right around 16 years old. I think the Justin Bieber's first movie had come out, and I remember having seen it and being like, that's me, like that's what I need to be. Like I want to be the same thing, and I want to do this and I want to do that. And I didn't I think if anything I had a different kind of grasp on the world that might have been a little bit less not educated is not the word, but just a little bit more naive to the world and how it worked, and especially the industry, the music industry, and how that works and all of that. But nonetheless, regardless of how I was going to get what I wanted, I was just like hungry. I was like, I want to do anything.
What was informing that hunger? What was informing your perception of the world? Where was that coming from? Was that family? Was that...
I mean, I think it's a mixture of a lot of things. It's social media. It's, like I said, comparing other people who are in the same industry or doing the same thing that I want to be doing, and seeing how their timeline of success or their timeline in which things happened. I always grew up, my dad always said, like, if you want something, you got to work for it. If you want something, you got to work for it. And so in my mind, combining everything, I don't think there was one straight source that fueled my, my hunger or my drive or my work ethic at the time. It was like me knowing, okay, my dad says I have to do whatever to work on it. And then I'm seeing Justin Bieber, this movie or whatever. I'm seeing this artist. I'm looking at, I had worked with John Legend by the point I was 16, and seeing his big, massive house and hearing how he, always being a massive fan of his, like knowing what that takes, and listening to, my managers, Billy Mann, Liz Baylog, and hearing them say, okay, if you want this, it's going to take this. And me kind of taking in all information and using all the information and wanting to succeed based off of everybody's information, not just the information that I now at 24 years old have of taking other people's information in and kind of getting to pick and choose as a man what fits for me and what I really truly believe.
I love what you said about, being informed by all these different, people in your life at 16 years old. But I would love to know about the Aiono family structure. Like, what was it like growing up in the Aiono household?
I mean, first and foremost, I don't think that it's necessary for your success to have a supportive family unit or have a supportive family, supportive parents, supportive siblings. But when you do, it makes chasing your dreams a lot less complicated, and it's a lot less scary knowing that you have a unit behind you that's willing to support you and sacrifice for you. I am one of those people who is so lucky to have that. As soon as my father and my mom identified, this is something that he's actually passionate about, not just like a hobby that he wants to be in the school choir, but he wants to like work. They had that conversation with me and they said, hey, do you want this? And I was, I was 13 at this point, and I was like, yes, like I want it. I'm hungry. I want this. And so they literally uprooted and moved to California from Arizona. And so having that, like that family unit that was so willing to literally move states based off of their 13, 14, 15-year-old son's dreams and consistently sacrifice. My sisters sacrificed, their own time, their own, honestly, like their attention from my parents. They sacrificed so much, so many things that I continually learn even to this day. Like, man, I didn't even realize my sister just sacrificed. Like, I just said like that was the first time I've ever said that my sisters even sacrificed attention as a child or as daughters. And I just said it for the first time. I just realized that, like, I continually learn and realize more things that my family sacrificed for me. So I really won't be ever able to put into words how important that was to me, and it continually is to me.
Did you feel any pressure to succeed because your family had made this sacrifice for your dream, for your passion?
Yeah, but I don't think that it was a pressure that my family put on me. It was more a pressure that I wanted to succeed so that they could look at everybody who might have, even if they didn't say it, might have thought like, "Ooh, you want to support your kid?" Like, because I know that it's a brave thing to do. And so I think the pressure came from wanting so badly to make them not even proud of me for me, but make them feel proud of themselves for going, yeah, we believed in this kid, and we believed in our son, and it came through, and we are so proud of that as well.
Talk to me about like faith and spirituality and what role that played in your upbringing. And we'll talk about, because that's something I really want to talk about later as well when we talk about your music. But in your early years, in your formative years, what role faith and spirituality played in shaping who you are as an individual?
Oh
Then,
man,
I think then and now as well.
and my first performances, if you want to call them that, were singing in church. My first songs that I learned were worship songs. My first, the first time that I knew and learned how to sing with feeling, or have actually not just sing notes, but actually connect with people through that, is from coming from a spiritual place, about worshiping what I believe in, about sharing that message in song, not just from what the lyrics are saying, but from the passion and the love that I feel when I sing it, and the way that I deliver those things. In my career, it was completely, like you had mentioned, like it was one of the most formative things for me in my formative years when it comes to singing, when it comes to music. And then when you make it a more personal thing, my whole being is based off of, to me, my biggest goal is to do the right thing and be a good person and help others. And that's all rooted in making sure I do what it takes now, so that whatever happens when I die, and as a 24-year-old whose beliefs and thoughts are ever changing and are constantly tested, and I've written so many songs about those beliefs changing and being tested, regardless of what the beliefs I hold end up being at the end of my days, I want to continuously be the best person I can be, so that whatever happens when I die, whatever happens in my next life, if there is one, I am doing the right things now, that I can be proud of the person I've been in this life.
From a spiritual standpoint, what do you believe in now, and how has that evolved and changed?
It's really ever changing. I've always had a strong, really unshakable belief in a higher power. And because I was raised in the religion that I was raised in, I call that higher power God. And as I continue to grow and I continue to learn, that that God changes shape, it changes its looks, it changes its gender, or whether it even has a gender. I just know that there's something there, and that's the part that's unshakable. Mm-hmm. And I think things that are shakeable outside of that are the details that probably don't even matter, you know, the details that are what this higher power looks like, or what race this higher power is. I don't think any of those things really matter, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter here. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what, like, I don't look at a person and be like, well, if they had a different color skin, I might like them more. Like, that's insane for somebody to think. So for us to put that same thought process on this higher power is kind of Neanderthalic.
Going into the music industry and going into the music world, has your faith, has that belief in this higher power, has that ever caused any challenges with the type of music that you make, or has it aided in the type of music that you make?
My connection with God is the most inspirational thing I have. And there's been moments in which I didn't understand or fully grasp how I use that connection in my music. And so now, having come full circle, especially with this album, understanding that connection is one of the most important and powerful things that I hold as a human being. It's super, it's an absolute, like, helpful, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it's a tool that I use, you know, it's something that it's a platform in which I can write, you know, right from the deepest depths of my soul. But I think also, because I was raised the way I am, because I'm so, I don't want to let people down. I don't want to let family down, or friends down, or the people I grew up with down. It did take a while for me to be able to write from such a genuine place, in terms of swearing, in terms of talking about my real life, in terms of, you know, addressing things that might not have fit in the way that I was raised, but because I am continuously becoming the man that I am going to become, I am getting more comfortable with things. And so I think actually my connection with God, my spirituality, my connection with myself has absolutely aided in my fears or my worries or my doubts that I have in taking that step more into honesty, and taking that step deeper into telling my story in its completion, even if my mom or my dad or my grandparents or my old friends back in Arizona might not necessarily agree or wouldn't do or act the same way.